It's a hot afternoon in the month of August in China. A family of three is driving to rural China to drop their son at a training camp. The teenage boy sitting in the back seat of the car loves playing World of Warcraft at China's internet cafe known as Wangba. When he's not at Wangba, he plays World of Warcraft on the home computer. But now, sitting in the car, he seems to be upset because the camp he's being taken to is no ordinary camp. This camp is for China's internet addicts, who are mostly underage teenagers. These camps advertise themselves as a rehab camp for addicts that would treat kids of their electronic heroin addiction by psychological methods and some physical training. According to the teenage boy's mother, her son started playing online games when he was 11. He used to be brilliant in studies, but as time passed and he turned 13, his addiction to World of Warcraft and other online games got worse. He started skipping meals, almost completely stopped working out, gained weight, and all these affected his academics. His parents were worried. If this continued, it would become difficult to get a spot at an elite high school. Although his parents were a bit skeptical as if the boy was really addicted to internet or not. He never smoked like the other internet addicts would. He never harmed anyone due to the rage caused by any online game. But the media coverage of internet addiction and the promise of such camps turned their skepticism into firm belief that their son was indeed an addict and it was necessary for him to get rid of this addiction for a better future. And that has led them here, in front of the addiction camp building, and it looks nothing like the boy imagined. It's a 3-story concrete building with barred windows and overgrown bushes, and in the distance is a black cloud over the factory smokestack. And on a double basketball court, other teenagers are in the middle of training session being watched by the counselors. The boy refuses to stay in this jail-like camp, but his parents have made their mind. Before going back, his parents ask one of the counselors if they beat the kids or not. The counselor replies, "We only use psychological treatments here." Then they hand over 7,000 yuan as a fee for 1 month of treatment, which is more than double the average monthly salary in China at the time. The parents leave. They couldn't even say goodbye to their son. His mother looks at him from a crack in the door. He is sitting in the chair, sad and head bowed down. None of the parents has any idea that this is going to be their life's biggest mistake that would haunt them for the rest of their life. A normal person would have some questions like why these camps exist, why playing games and using internet is considered as an addiction, and why these camps are considered to be the only solution. It all started in the early 2000s when internet got cheaper. This led to the introduction of online games and social websites. The number of licensed Wangba increased to 100,000 by 2002. The unlicensed Wangba were growing in numbers as well. Chinese citizens, mostly teenagers, started spending most of their time playing games, surfing the web, or just sleeping at Wangba since it was fairly cheap. But soon things started getting worse. In 2002, a group of teenagers started a fire at Wangba in Beijing as a revenge against the owner who had previously denied entry because of their age. The Wangba had barred windows to avoid police attraction. There were no fire exits and the door was locked. This led to 25 deaths. Similar incidents were happening all across China. A gamer died after playing Legend of Meat 2 for 20 hours straight. 2 kids after gaming for 2 days were so exhausted that they passed out on railway tracks and were run over by a train. A 13-year-old after playing World of Warcraft for 36 hours jumped off the roof of a building hoping to join the heroes of the game. These incidents stirred fear in the people's mind and they started looking at internet and games as a demon who has come here for their children. Soon, the first camp for internet addicts was found by Tao Ran in Beijing in the year 2004. Tao Ran was a military researcher and a colonel famous for treating addicts. Now he was all in to cure teenagers of their internet addiction. The treatment process involved a combination of physical training, therapy and medication. The internet addicts, who were mostly teens, are held in the jail-like camp. Teenagers are given military-like training with all the harsh rules and regulations. A fixed routine, no personal belongings are allowed inside, and until the teens are fully cured of their addiction, they are not allowed to leave the camp. His camp was able to treat more than 5,000 people of their addiction. But not all camps were run by Tao Ran. Just like the unlicensed Wangba, some unregulated addiction camps were being operated by self-proclaimed addiction experts. These camps were a torture hell and their methods of curing addiction were inhuman to say the least. One such camp was run by Yang Yongxin, aka Uncle Yang. The teens in his camp even tried to escape that hell. The methods he used to cure addiction were mostly like the other regulated camps, but much more amplified. He forced extreme physical training on the teenagers, like sending them on a 500-plus-mile trek, forcing teenagers to take antidepressants and many more unregulated therapies. But all these ways of treatments were nothing against the one therapy Uncle Yang called as brainwaking. In simple terms, it was electric shocks given to the addicts. The electrodes were attached to the temples and hands, and then electric current was shot through. Sometimes this treatment would go on for half an hour. All this pain in the name of clearing the mind. And Uncle Yang used to be addressed as National Web Addiction Expert by the media. The same media whose effect on this young boy's parents led him in this camp, which did not have the brainwaking treatment, but still it was no different. Run by untrained and self-proclaimed professionals. This camp was opened in May 2009, pitching itself as a treatment center that uses therapy to cure addiction. But reality was different. On the first day itself, the boy is sent to confinement room on the facility's top floor and is told to face the wall. The boy refuses to do so. The counselor hits him. His screams are heard by other campers outside, but it's normal here. No one pays attention. The other campers are sent to bed at 9 p.m. but this new boy, along with 3 others, is instructed to run laps around the basketball courts. And this time the boy does not resist. He runs about 30 laps and then he stumbles and falls on the ground. The counselor is unhappy seeing him on the ground. He drags the boy near a pole and hits him with a wooden chair leg. The boy begs him to stop. Then he pushes himself up and continues running. The boy runs halfway around the court and collapses again. The counselor yells and hits him. This time the boy crumples and stops moving. At least half a dozen people witness this. The boy is carried to his bunk. His face is bleeding. Hours pass. Later, a car is dispatched to take him to the hospital, and at around 3 a.m. he is pronounced dead. The boy spent 14 hours in the camp, the last most brutal 14 hours of his life. This incident was one of many brutalities that were being carried on in such camps. People responsible for this incident were jailed. Similar incidents led to regulation of such camps. Many ill practices like forced lockups, physical punishments were banned. The parents of the boy eventually realized that their son was not addicted to internet after all. He probably played games to get rid of the stress and pressure of his studies. He never smoked, he didn't even drink. His parents still have his computer where he played online games, now houses the family photos on the drive. Whatever happened was not because of internet or online games. But there was one online game that was no less than an actual demon. Click on the video on screen to see how an online game took the lives of 200 teenagers and who was the mastermind behind it all.